Hello and welcome to this edition of Energy Frontiers. And we say thank you to the African Energy Chamber for their support of the show. I am your host, Justina Okechukwu. And let's get started with some energy news from here in Africa and around the world. The OPEC Plus Ministerial Panel, called the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, on Friday met and reviewed the crude oil production data for the months of May and June 2023. The committee therefore concluded to continue to assess market conditions and noted the willingness of the Declaration of Cooperation countries to address market developments and stand ready to take additional measures at any time. The next meeting of the JMMC has now been scheduled for October 4, 2023. The OPEC Plus meeting follows earlier announcements by Saudi Arabia and Russia. Riyadh had announced the extension of its 1 million barrels per day voluntary cut for another 1 month to include the month of September, which the Ministry of Energy says could either be extended or deepened. That announcement is expected to take the kingdom's production for the month of September 2023 to approximately 9 million barrels per day. Russia also plans to continue supply cuts by reducing exports in September by 300,000 barrels per day as part of efforts to ensure the oil market remains balanced, according to the country's Deputy Prime Minister, Alexander Novak. On the back of this, oil prices were on track for a sixth week of gain as Brent crude futures for October rose 31 cents to $85.45 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for September were up 32 cents to $81.87 per barrel. Away from OPEC-related news, Lucas Energy of Morocco, a subsidiary of the energy company Chariot Limited, have announced a petroleum agreement with Morocco's National Hydrocarbons and Mines Office for a new exploration license in the North African country. In Namibia, Hyphen Hydrogen Energy has joined the government to launch a socio-economic development framework for the country's $10 billion green hydrogen project to help local small to medium enterprises to generate revenue. Libya's National Oil Corporation said it has received official notes from Algeria's state oil and gas producer Sonatrach, the Italian energy group Eni, and British Petroleum, stating that they are ready to lift their force majeure and resume exploration activities in the blocks awarded to them in the North African country. And that was a snapshot of your energy news headlines. Coming up, is Ghana on track to achieve its ambitious energy transition goals by 2070? Now let's get answers to that after this break. This is Energy Frontiers. Now, Ghana says it needs around $562 billion to implement the country's ambitious energy transition framework by 2070. The country is in the process of putting together an investor prospectus that will help mobilize funds from both international and local investors into some of the projects scheduled under the program. Barbara Ando is an energy economist and analyst based in Ghana. In this interview chat, she told me a lot more that the country is doing to achieve its energy transition agenda. So, Ghana reportedly needs about $600 billion to cumulatively implement the country's energy transition agenda by 2070. Where is the West African country at the moment in its energy transition plans, Barbara?
Yes, thank you very much for that. I'd like to say that personally, I'm very excited about Ghana's energy transition plans. We've put together a very comprehensive framework that covers, an expansive sector, covers all the sectors, and it's very detailed in terms of the breakdown concerning what will be done, both in the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream of the energy sector in general. And as you said already, this plan is ambitious, with a price tag of $562 billion, almost $600 billion, like you said. And the highlights of the plan are to attain a 45% reduction in emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, that is, to be able to increase renewable energy penetration, to be able to provide jobs, over 1 million jobs, to Ghanaians and whatnot. And these are the highlights of the plan. Now, concerning how far we've come, we came right from putting together the framework to do hosting road shows to broadcast the framework both internationally and also locally. And now we are at the point of raising funds or mobilizing funds to finance the plan. Like you mentioned already, it's quite involving in terms of resources. So we are putting together an investment prospectus that will sort of outline all the strategic investment opportunities that come along with the energy transition plan. And once this is already put together, we would go ahead and mobilize funds internationally, locally, from both the private sector and public sector and from the development agencies or banks, and make sure that we have the resources flowing over time to be able to achieve Ghana's energy transition plan.
Now, the global demand for oil is anticipated to decline. And this morning I saw that oil prices are also expected to skyrocket. So how should Ghana take advantage of its transition minerals to increase its official revenue and bridge infrastructure gap?
Right. For Ghana, I can say that we have much experience when it comes to mining. We've been mining minerals for well over 100 years now. Of course, chiefly being gold, and then you would come to the industrial minerals. So we are not too new to mining. So mining the transition minerals would be great for us. And to be able to position ourselves, we'll need to take advantage of the global value chain, which is something that we've not done with our gold mining. Now, how do we do this? First of all, through policy and through building human capacity. I mean, there are several sections of the global chain in which we could enter. And first of all, we could think through processing of lithium, the transition minerals in general. We could also think of creating bonds with forward-facing manufacturing industries. For instance, automakers who might need some of these transition minerals in what they need to manufacture, and create partnerships that will allow them to invest in Ghana, invest in the value chain for the transition minerals, and create value both for Ghana and also globally. So I'm looking at a situation where Ghana, through policy, because this really needs to be backed by policy, would institute the structures that is required to be able to create room for value addition to these minerals. And once that has been done, to be able to train also the human capacity to develop them such that they have the technical know-how to be able to also play a role in contributing to processing or contributing to value addition, and also to equip them in the sense of giving them skills that will help them to be involved in commerce, so that we don't just add value and still leave it there, but so that they are able to engage in the commercial industry or the commercial trading of such the transition minerals. So we have, let's say, a wide scope to be able to take advantage, and it depends on how we position ourselves in terms of policy and in terms of building capacity. So to summarize it all, I'll put it in 3 stages. First of all, to formulate the policy that will look at processing, manufacturing, as well as building capacity, transferring knowledge or technical know-how, and also making sure that we have the capacity for commerce. I believe if Ghana is able to do these things in our minerals industry or for the transition minerals, we'll be able to take advantage of the global value chain, so that if the oil demand is going down, oil price is going down, we are diversifying our economy away from focusing on exportation of raw materials or raw minerals, for instance, and making sure we are taking advantage of value addition, which has better linkages to the economy and can better equip us to maintain value within the country.
Moving on, Husk Power Systems is ramping up resources to install up to 2,000 minigrids over 4 years. And there is more.
Imagine a future where tomorrow's solutions build a world of opportunities for all, and where human potential is truly realized, where every child has an equal chance in life, no matter where they were born. Imagine the potential of a continent built on low-carbon oil and natural gas and abundant renewable energy. Imagine Mozambique, Angola, Nigeria, Uganda, Senegal, Egypt, Namibia, and Algeria being let free to develop their natural resources without pressure from wealthy countries to leave it in the ground. Imagine an Africa where we cut red tape bureaucracy and provide better fiscal terms so we can compete globally for energy investments. African Energy Week is the African Energy Chamber's annual event held at the Cape Town waterfront, uniting African energy leaders, global investors, and executives from across the public and private sector for 4 days of intense dialogue on the future of the African energy industry. Showcasing the latest technologies and innovations to 5,000 plus registered delegates from over 100 countries and international professionals from across the global energy sector. Be part of the future of the energy industry and join the energy movement by becoming an official sponsor, exhibitor, delegate, or partner. African Energy Week.
Welcome back to the program. Husk Power Systems, the operator of the largest fleet of community solar mini-grids across Africa and Asia. Now, the energy company is looking to build up to 2,000 mini-grids in the next 3 to 4 years, and particularly mobilizing financing to help electrify communities that are without electricity access. For more on these and what Husk Power Systems has been up to since our last chat, here is William Brent, the Chief Marketing Officer of the company. All right, so it looks like it's been a busy season for you guys at Husk Power. Run me through what the first 6 months of the new year had been for you, especially in the last quarter.
So, yeah, it has been a very busy last 12 months. The last quarter and first half of the year, you know, it's largely been preparing for growth, right? We're a company that's 15 years old. We've made mistakes, learned from those mistakes. We've now reached a point where our business model is profitable. We've got a very strong technical underpinning for the business that allows us to scale. This first half of the year has really been about trying to finalize investment so that we can grow from where we are today, 200 plus mini grids to 2,000 mini grids in the next 3 to 4 years. And also getting the team in place that can actually execute against that, right? So we've been the past 12, 18 months have been really focused on fundraising, both equity and debt. That's been a major focus for us for the first half of the year to close that and secure that financing, while also putting together the team across the board, operations, finance, engineering, et cetera, to be able to get from that 200 to 2,000. That 10x growth is going to require a leap in our ability. So that's been a big focus for us. Nice. And we've also been, really trying to explore other markets and look at different ways that we can bring additional revenue streams into the business, whether that's looking at different energy services, different financing mechanisms, et cetera. So there's always more to do than we have the capacity to do. But those are the main focuses for what we've been working on.
You mentioned the fundraising. Can you speak to me a bit about that?
Sure. So I think we've talked about it in the past, but Husk Power to date has raised about $40 million in both equity and debt. We didn't start raising debt until last year. We raised about $12 million in debt in 2022. And so that $40+ million got us to where we are today. So 200 minigrids, a viable business model in India, Nigeria. And, what we need to grow is another $100 million. So that's what we are in the process of finalizing, that $100 million investment. That'll be about $40 to $50 million in equity, plus another $60 million in debt. The equity will help us expand as a corporation, build our team, build our capacity, potentially enter new markets. And that debt will help us build out the pipeline of projects that we've got in place. In Nigeria, for example, we have about 100 projects in our pipeline. We need money. It's a capital intensive business. We need money to build out that pipeline. Same thing in India. So that's, we're hoping to announce, something about that financing in the next quarter.
Now, let's chat to how your company is leveraging the use of carbon credits in the mini-grids market to increase revenue.
Sure. So, the mini-grid business is a challenging business, right? We're trying to electrify communities that are unelectrified, where the grid is not present. And, it's a capital intensive business. Anything you can do to add additional revenue streams into that business model will help. It'll help us to lower our costs. It'll help us to, be able to provide more affordable services to our customer. So in 2019, we actually went through a formal process with the UN FCCC, essentially the climate change arm of the United Nations, working with partners to create a methodology whereby we could start to quantify what the value of carbon offsets is from us displacing diesel generation. A big part of our business, whether it's India or Nigeria or other markets, is we're going into places where diesel generation is the primary energy source for any economic activity. Mm-hmm. And so if you're able to actually displace that diesel generation with solar mini grids, there's an offset there that you can monetize on the global voluntary carbon market. So we did that in 2019. We essentially forward sold 5 years of offsets through that process. So we were able to capture that revenue for 5 years upfront that we can then put into our business and help develop. So it's not going to be a huge game changer in terms of incremental income for the company, but it is incremental income, and that will help us to then scale even further.
Right. So how does Husk Power use AI? I know you mentioned that in your report, to scale sustainable energy solutions to serve rural communities in Africa and Asia.
So I'm sure you've been to rural Nigeria. I've traveled around the country. These are communities that we're electrifying that are spread out over huge distances. And the same's true in other markets as well. The only way that you can scale a solution like the mini grids that we build is by building a really robust digital platform, right? You can't service these remote rural areas the same way that utilities serve urban areas, where if there's an issue, you just send out a van, you make a repair. When you're working across hundreds, thousands of kilometers, you have to have a digital solution that underpins that, right? So that includes smart meters, it includes IoT and sensors that allow for remote monitoring and management, plus AI. AI is becoming much more important for our business, and we just won an award at the UN recently for that allows us to do a lot of demand load forecasting at the site level. And then the next thing that we're going to be using AI is to try and push that down further to actually start to customize our services at the customer level, right? So now we're doing it at the site level. We want to do it at the customer level as well.
Finally, the African Energy Week, the pioneer event of the African Energy Chamber, is about 3 months away. Companies can now leverage the event to meet potential partners and engage with leading investors to drive investment deals that will shape the future of their business. The African Energy Week will feature an extensive lineup of high-level panels, keynote presentations from industry experts and leaders, including engaging workshops, exhibitions, and networking events from October 16 to 20 at the V&A Waterfront in Cape Town, South Africa. please visit the event website on www.aecweek.com for more information. And this is how we wrap up the show for you this week. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to follow the program on Frontier Africa Reports website, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us across all our social media handles as indicated on the screen. It's goodbye from me, Justina Okechukwu. I'll see you next time.